Hello and welcome to another episode of Mai and I. This is my mother, Catherine Chipembere, and I am Masauko Chipembere Jr. And today we're going to return to Tanzania. You had been in the United States with Bambo Chipembere, and you guys decided to come back to Tanzania.
Yeah.
This was somewhere around 66. What was the reason that you guys decided to come back to Tanzania?
It's because he still was trying hard to see if they can win this war with Kamuzu.
This is my Uncle Matthias. He is one of the few remaining soldiers who was part of my father's rebellion here in Malawi against Kamuzu Banda in the mid-60s. When my father left and went into exile, you remained.
Yes.
You were captured. How long before you were captured?
He left in May 1965. Then in July, I was arrested.
Okay. How long in prison?
In prison, I've stayed for 13 years.
13 years. In 1966, there are multiple reasons my father wants to come back and continue battling Banda. From the New York Times, 1966. Blantyre, Malawi, February 1st. A Malawi rebel leader, Medson Evans Silombela, was hanged today in the Zomba prison. The execution was watched by 400 relatives of persons he was alleged to have killed. After my father left, Silombela, who had been one of the people in his army, continued to fight against Kamuzu Banda. My father had asked all of his soldiers to stop fighting when he left and went to the United States. However, my father assumed that Kamuzu would also stop fighting and there'd be amnesty for those left behind. It didn't go that way. Once my father left, all the promises that were made in the secret deal between him and Kamuzu were not kept. So Kamuzu went after his soldiers and killed many people. Medson Silombela, he was hung in a way that was indecent. Kwame Nkrumah wrote to Kamuzu saying, "I would like to make this special appeal to you to commute the public hanging to a sentence of imprisonment on purely humanitarian grounds." Kamuzu responded saying, "Silombela must hang." People like my uncle, Matthias Chiweza, were put in prison. Others, like my uncle Arthur Chipembere, like my father's good friend Mtiesa, they were all put in prison. My father felt a deep sense of guilt about his friends and family being put in prison by Kamuzu when he thought the war was over. Malawi also became a republic in 1966, with Kamuzu Banda becoming the president around July 6th of that year. Kamuzu becomes president. He creates a thing called the Forfeiture Act of 1966. If the minister is satisfied that any person is or has been acting in a manner prejudicial to the safety or the economy of the state or subversive to the authority of the lawfully established government, irrespective of whether that person be within or without Malawi, he may by order, which shall be published in the Gazette, declare such person to be subject to forfeiture. In simple terms, whether you're here or not, the government can take what you have earned. I'm going to be reading to you from a book called Revolutionary State Making in Dar es Salaam by George Roberts. In it, he describes the year 1966. Another month, another protest in Dar es Salaam. The numbers involved grew once more. On 26 September, a crowd estimated at between 5,000 and 10,000 people marched through the capital. On this occasion, their grievance claims by Hastings Banda, president of Malawi, to a swath of territory in southwestern Tanzania.
If the present fact, the fact that the lake belonged to Malawi, is an inconvenience to the people on the lake shore, to the east in another country, then the best way to solve the problem of this inconvenience is not to divide the lake in the middle. It's not even to negotiate agreement of allowing the people on the border or along the lake certain facilities. The real best solution would be Mbeya, Njombe, Songea to be ceded to Malawi where they belong.
The protesters again brandished placards. Banda, Africa will never forgive you. Malawians, overthrow Banda regime. Down with Banda. They chanted traitor. In 1966, the exiles were joined by another ex-minister, Henry Chipembere, who had led a failed attempt to overthrow Banda the previous year and then fled to the United States.
Dr. Banda feels that Malawi is too small. As one journalist said when Dr. Banda came out amid a lot of triumph and acclaim all over Africa when he came out of prison, a journalist asked him, "Don't you feel like a big fish in a small pond?" He said he didn't. But we who had been in jail with him knew that he was not being honest. He had told us many times that Malawi was too small, that it was not only too small as against the other African countries. He's very angry about Tanzania being so big, about 10 times the size of Malawi.
From Dar es Salaam, Chipembere canvassed support for his Pan-African Democratic Party, which campaigned against Banda, while also teaching at Kivukani College, the TANU training school. Both Chiume and Chipembere were close childhood friends of Oscar Kambona, who was of Malawian descent. Kambona provided them with a contact point at the center of power and most likely their jobs in party institutions. So then Pan-African Democratic Party is becoming popular in Tanzania.
Yeah, I tried to stop him to say, I didn't think you should be doing politics again. We have had all these problems, and I'm not too happy that you started it. But then the people in Tanzania, these are people who had come to Tanzania a long time ago. Mm-hmm. They joined this party. I could see they were very impressed with it. We should help him, in the meetings once a week. Yeah.
Chiume and Chipembere are working together on this party.
Yes.
But then we also know around this time, the remaining Chiziza brother is also making a plan to go to Malawi.
He wants to go to Malawi. So he came to Daddy one Sunday morning to talk to him, find out how safe it is. Is it okay for me to go? But they had this meeting like from 8 o'clock in the morning to maybe 10 o'clock at night. Dad was trying to persuade him not to go because Kamuzu has put party members with arms every corner, every door, every road that you want to go through to Malawi. There's a camp there for soldiers. Chances are you can get killed. He decided to go. I'm going.
The Malawians became members of Dar es Salaam's exile scene, although they occupied an anomalous position within it. Unlike the likes of Frelimo and the ANC, they were campaigning for the overthrow of an independent African government rather than the liberation of a territory still under the colonial yoke. The Tanzanian government therefore treated their arrival with circumspection. In 1964, it announced it had granted asylum to the Malawians, but underlined that it would not tolerate them undertaking any political or other campaign against the Malawian government. Despite this, the TANU press threw its support behind the dissidents. The exiles' supporters received military training in Tanzania and elsewhere in the socialist world. Banda repeatedly warned of the dangers of an attack from Tanzanian soil. Such fears were not without basis. In September 1967, Chiziza and his supporters launched an invasion of Malawi. But the mission, which ended in Chiziza's death, was a total catastrophe and illustrated the weakness of the ex-minister's positions.
The second day he was dead.
Wow.
Yeah. Then they just started a rumor to say, okay, maybe Chipembere sent this message to Kamuzu that Chiziza is coming. How could he do that? Yeah, that really hated that. We talked to the Sunday morning, 8 o'clock to midnight almost. Try to tell him, do not go, because there's soldiers every corner of Malawi.
Yatuta was very passionate about going back to Malawi.
Yes.
He left his country, but he ended up losing his life in the battle for Malawi.
The second day, you got there, second day was killed. Kamuzu took his body and put it on the mat, and he was telling the people to step on him. And the people said, no, we can't do that. He's been our leader, and we know him, we cannot do that.
Exile life was marked by division as much as solidarity. Chipembere and Chiume had cautioned Chiziza against his invasion, while the PDP was riven with factionalism and distrust.
This politics, sometimes I used to not want to pay attention to it because it was hurting me so much.
Right.
Yeah, I developed ulcers. I think I was the older one. They were in one party together in Malawi, but when they came to Tanzania, Chiziza was doing something else. They said, yeah, Chiziza was doing something else.
Okay. Another issue then, if Chiziza is going to Malawi and fighting to the death, and Chiume and Chipembere are having a party in Tanzania, then it seems that the ministers had begun to separate. In exile, the ministers who had been united during the cabinet crisis of '64 fragmented. All of them wanted to liberate Malawi from Kamuzu. Each had their own ideas about how. Yatuta Chiziza went to war like Che Guevara. Orton Chirwa started the Malawi freedom movement. Mafremo, Chirwa died a political prisoner after being held for many years by Kamuzu's government. By the time my father left Tanzania in 1969, the PDP had come apart, with people even claiming that Chipembere was not a Malawian because his parents came from Mozambique. I remember once you told me many years ago that in Tanzania, Daddy had to have a gun in the house.
Yeah, but we still had a gun in my pillow. It was very scary. And then the watchman outside also had a gun.
Okay, so if Daddy had a gun under the pillow in Tanzania, no matter what was happening with this Pan-African Democratic Party,
Yeah.
he was worried that Kamuzu was coming to get him.
Yeah, they did come. They did come. I don't know who chased them. Daddy had very good security at the house.
So they came to the house.
They did not come to the house. The houses in Tanzania, they had a hedge. 6 people watching our house. And there was one sitting with a torch. The man here went and told his friends in the back, okay, I see a car outside. They all came out, and when this car saw these people, they ran away. And then to top of this, one thing that also surprised me is that one night, I woke up at 12 midnight. And then I find Daddy is in the living room talking to somebody. And I go, whom is he talking to? But when the man left, I went back in the living room and he said, you know what? Top man of police in Malawi came to talk to Daddy to persuade him to go back. And Daddy said, no, I cannot come back. Yeah. I don't know, he must have got in through Nyerere because he could not have come to this place without the police knowing that somebody is here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So he went back to Malawi and told Kamuzu, no, Chipembere. I said, no, she can't come here. This man could have killed him. There were only 2 people in the room. I'm not sure whether they didn't have a gun. Yeah.
So do you feel that was an honest attempt by Kamuzu? Was there a plan to bring him back?
So he can kill him.
Which one do you think?
No, there's no way I was not going to go back there. Come back to Malawi. No way. No way. Dad was not willing to come back.
Kamuzu had already said, bring me Chipembere dead or alive. So this kind of...
It's like making me feel that he is now changing his mind. No, he can't change his mind.
Right. Now, you're in this house with your husband and his gun.
Yeah.
And the children are there.
Yeah, very frightened. Yeah, in the other room with the aunties.
So that means also that the children also had to go to school.
Yeah.
So
the school was just walking distance. So that was good.
This man could have taken your children too.
Yeah. It was very frightening even when they were staying in Tanzania.
So in 1969, my father left Tanzania because the atmosphere became too hot. Kamuzu had tried more than once to see if he could take my father's life. Around 68, 69, Oscar Kambona, who had helped him find work in Tanzania in 66, had to flee because of conflicts he was having with Julius Nyerere. But the final straw in 1969 was the killing of Eduardo Mondlane, the Mozambican leader. I didn't have the heart to ask my mother about Silombela's hanging. I didn't want to talk to her about the killing of Mondlane. At some points in this interview, I could tell that it was all a bit too much for her. The thing about history is we read it in books, but some of us live through it and live with the results of it. It is vital that when we return to Malawi, there should be no issue making for disunity of the nation or of the leadership. We've learnt one bitter lesson about the dire consequences of a clash among leaders and their respective supporters, and subsequently among the people as a whole. Many innocent men, women, and children suffer or die. Young men are corrupted into believing that killing your countryman who disagrees with you over policy or leadership is a noble act. Development is retarded, and the reputation and strength of the nation is destroyed. At least one, if not both, of the warring sides turns to enemies of Africa to seek political, financial, or military support in its bid for survival. And so, the nation becomes a slave of external powers. One lesson is enough. We do not need and cannot risk another lesson. From My Malawian Ancestors by Henry Masauko Chipembere, August 1969.